Yes. Fine. Yeah, it's weird. The only problem is there's like some feedback. But then they should be able to hear on that. Shall I message it to you? Alright, I'll send it you on Hangouts. Oh, it comes up with a picture and everything, which is very exciting, but I don't know if that means that it's. Oh, it just says you're now live. This is all a bit stressful. I couldn't even find the microphone in the office this morning, so it didn't start great. But I'm hoping Andrew will be here in a bit because he's like the man. I have no idea which one I should be looking at here. Laura, can you hear anything? I'm going to do that because he hates hugs. I'll get him. So you can, but you can hear us talking. Oh no, they can't. Straight down those stairs. At the bottom. You're not coming in. I know. We walked in and we were like, I think I've got the live stream going.
Oh, good. Good to see you.
You too.
Oh, nice to see you. Did you come to the event the other day?
Yeah, you like, she looked familiar.
Yeah, great. What was your name? Aisha. Can we? How many?
How am I going to have any room or
No, no. Oh, yeah, just.
like 14 in the room at that time.
Okay.
So we can. Yeah. This is much nicer than like having to stand.
Yeah, it's better, isn't it?
This is much more like.
Come near the mic. Yeah, if you come near the mic.
Is that
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? This is the posh.
This is like I'm
So
not.
it's-
I'm not familiar with this with security events because like normally everyone's like don't photograph me,
Yeah,
don't do this, do that. So we just keep
Yeah.
it all.
yeah.
chat
So there's no video.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
fine.
audio.
Yeah, it's fine.
If you're right, that's the check before. Are you alright with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly
it's just good to be well. No, that's good.
I'm just like that a little bit this morning.
No, I
Got
think
no
that probably
comms
works
this
better
time.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, go and do that.
Layla had her birthday on Friday. Her birthday night was like so much joy. All those preparation for 4-year-old party. I have no idea. She's still wearing her past dress today. So cute, yeah. Have you guys seen her out there?
It's going to dick on the 8th.
Yeah.
Because it's going to dick on the 8th, really, realistically, we're not going to have any time to do. We just really wanted to get it out, come New Year, get it out,
Get it out, yeah.
get everyone to come along. And
To be honest, New Year's is a really good time to have it anyway. I think so.
it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully get principals there as well.
Mm.
Should be good. So. There you go. That's how special you guys are. Oh. You met Atif before. He works in NSS. Just downstairs. He works on EU exit.
His name is really familiar to me.
Yeah.
I haven't met him before.
Mm.
I haven't met the other lady.
I think it's just you. And then Atif, and then Abu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, sorry. I thought it was someone else. Oh, yeah, because I was emailing Bruce. You know, Ruth
Oh,
Wilson.
yeah.
And I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's interesting because I want to talk to you about something to do with fostering.
Yeah.
So I made a friend, a colleague, friend contact,
Yeah.
Freya.
Oh, Freya Clayton.
Freya Arshad. She
Oh,
works
no.
for Accenture Security.
Yeah.
She's a contractor.
Yeah.
So she works for Accenture Security, but she is really into diversity,
Mm.
particularly because at Accenture Security they have like hardly anyone, and she's one of the senior managers.
Oh, wow.
But their most senior female,
Yeah.
Shaheen Saeed, is speaking at our women's event in March.
Yeah.
So we've got one in March. But they're doing an event for the FLS.
Oh, okay.
But what I said was that it feels like there's a way to connect the fast stream event that you're doing.
Do you want to sit next to the laptop?
I can sit wherever. I'll go and sit in a corner.
No, come sit in the circle.
Oh, I didn't mean like in a complete corner.
Sorry.
It just feels like there's some way to connect, because she was saying
Yeah.
it would be something really good to do, like a workshop or something. And I was like, yeah, but it would be like to get some people who are in there.
Yeah,
And so
definitely.
I haven't really thought it through yet,
Yeah.
but I just thought I should connect to something, because I think she's quite a good person to know. Because she's kind
Definitely.
of got that kind of industry kind of perspective. She's worked around cabinet office quite a lot, so she's got quite an interesting
So
perspective.
both inside and outside.
And her colleague used to work in government. They are cleared, but they're not government, so there is a line.
Yeah,
But she's really nice.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, definitely put me in touch. That would be really great. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, that's cool. Do you want to come sit next here? Only because the mic's over this way. Yeah, we thought it's going to be a smaller party, so we thought we'd just make it a bit more intimate, just to have a more free-flowing discussion, which is either better or worse for you guys. So sorry. Have you met Sophia before? Sophia lives in Sophia.
Oh, right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. In a good way.
All in good way.
Yeah, so we've got some people that are going to be joining the live stream, and it'll just be audio, so it won't be in video, so just so you're aware. And then we have the tech now. And we've got about 14 people who signed up, so we'll see who kind of starts coming in.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, I think if we just kind of, if we open up, just get what people's perceptions are. Because I think sometimes you start with an assumption that people know what security is, but just testable to see what it is. And if you guys give your understanding of what it is, or what you might have thought about what it was before. And then we're going to just your backstories and your history and career, and then open out for some questions and discussion. Just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
precisely. On like how to solve problems. Definitely. Yeah. And what do you going to do?
As long as you want.
exactly.
You have to go about 6.
Yeah, we just kind of kept the room longer in case anyone wanted to walk around and have a chat.
Yeah, great.
Anytime you need to go.
Yeah.
I
This is
basically did
a
a
great
runner at the
room.
one on Wednesday night because I had to get back to Manchester, so I just left everybody on Wednesday night. I was like, I'm going now.
Okay, no, thank you.
What is the capacity of this room?
Like 100 to 200.
Must be what, 100?
Maybe 100, maybe 120 ish, yeah. It's a really good room, really good conference room.
Yeah, it's a really good room. Our NCFC room has fallen through on the 30th of January, and I'm literally in the hunt. We've exhausted everything at MOD.
Yeah.
Can you book rooms in Treasury?
You have to find someone who can book
because
your
I
room.
used to work here. I used to be able to book it, and now I went on the system, and actually I couldn't still book it. I've asked someone to see if they can come back. They can book rooms, so hopefully.
Yeah, I'll ask them definitely. Yeah, it's good. So there's there's Dee Dee, who's kind of the head of the kind of analysis section of CIA. She's coming to speak. She's coming over for a trip to the UK. She's coming to speak to us.
Yeah.
On the 6th of December.
Yeah, that's
So-
right.
It's Friday.
Yeah. So I think we've got a slot with her, but it's like the spaces are really limited.
Yeah,
And she's going to do a panel event with Madeline chairing.
yeah.
Are
you going?
That's great. I don't know. I was like,
Yeah, it's-
I helped set this up, but I still wasn't going
It was a bit interesting now because Catherine Day emailed us
Yeah.
with Joanna Roper
Yeah.
and said, can you invite Sophia, Catherine, Joanna Roper? And they said, no, spaces are all filled. And I felt like saying, Joanna, finally got me. She's a special envoy for gender equality, but might be crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think it's full.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
I have no
But
idea.
if you help
Because
us
it was
out,
going to
surely
be.
Yeah, surely you get in.
Surely you should tell them.
Just go with Madeline.
Yeah, exactly. Just shadow her. Well, I'm in the room.
tailgate.
I'm in the room with Dee Dee before, so I might just like stay on and like
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure no one kicks me out. But yeah, no. So I think it's a case of sending a question for Dee Dee, and then if the
Oh,
question's
that's
good
right.
enough,
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
get
I
a,
thought that was quite clever.
then you get to get a place.
In order
'Cause-
to bid for a place.
yeah. It's a good idea. Yeah. But
Well, let us know how it goes. 'cause
yeah,
it'll be
well,
really
hopefully I can go there. So.
Yeah.
But it's great. She's been really, really keen, really interested, really engaged with all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been really, really good to have her on board, and we're going to brief in our paper to her as well. So so we'll see Steve.
It's so good. I bumped into James actually.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
there you go.
No, you don't. I don't mind you sit there. Don't mind a wire over you. Oh.
Yeah, there's some good stuff going on. So, I mean,
We couldn't work out if the mic was working, so I had to send Laura the link and then send her out the room. And then send her out the room and then talk.
And then it was just, he kept telling me, so Sophie was using
Oh God, how do I review the questions that come in? Sorry, that's all my. Right, so I've posted a message, but I don't know how to.
Do you want me to see if it's come on?
Yeah, please.
So she's had, you know, she's had Charlie.
Yeah, can you see a question anywhere?
ATO. He basically said that it's really bad that you didn't get leave, but you didn't get really like. But
How do I do it?
really think through. Mine then at the end kind of summed up and was like, oh, so, you know,
I don't know how to get to work. Yeah, and it comes up. But I'm logged in.
It just came up just like thing, the link.
Yeah, this is what because I sent you that link, didn't I? Did I send you the right
so
link?
yeah, I think it just means that we need to
Oh, let me send you this link.
a real push to fight for the amazing is going to be
Like, where is it?
So until they do that, because that is what method has got then from all external organisations actually reaching when changes.
Yeah, we might that work. It's on the civil service site. This is what I'm struggling with. Because it says my question is waiting for review, but surely I'm the.
Shall I try and see the question?
Yeah.
I just put one time because we didn't start.
Turn the mic on. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Shut the door, or shall I leave it open for people to come in? Yeah, hopefully you're good with the tech.
Well, as good as we're going to be.
Yeah. I'll let you, and then,
Hand over to you.
yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry we're a bit late starting. We've still got a few people due to come, but it's cold and dark outside and we won't get home, so we'll get started. My name's Kirsty Monroe, along with my colleague Ruth, who's not here today. I am running the National Security Cell this year, and I can see a few familiar faces from Wednesday's event last week who came to see us. And then Anissa has very kindly suggested a further event because you ran something last year.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it was previous, and I was like, was it when we launched last time or was it last year? So this is just an opportunity. We've got some speakers for you to hear from today, and just a chance for you to ask some questions as well. So we've opened for applications this morning, and I think you've got till, I think it's 5 to midnight on Sunday, the 15th of December. It's a very specific time that I got told by comms was the rules apparently nowadays. So to apply, but we just wanted to give you the chance to ask some questions. We are live streaming, but it's audio only. So we might get some questions if I can get the question thing to work, that I'll share with the group as they come through. Other than that, I think I'll hand over to Anissa and let you get started.
Yeah, sure. So, so a bit of context. So I set up an event similar to this. It was a couple of years ago, and it was when we first introduced the security and defence cluster. And Abu was our speaker who was there and got rave reviews. So yeah, it was basically, you hear about national security, but sometimes there are particular perceptions that you might have, particular barriers that you might perceive, where, you know, as an ethnic minority civil servant, you want certain answers. I know I had loads of questions that I never got answers to when I first started, and kind of by accident ended up in the Ministry of Defence. I wish that I had people that I could have asked those questions to, because it could have been that I didn't go to MOD because, you know, I wasn't brave enough to make that leap, and then wouldn't have been on my career in national security. So I think it's a really good opportunity to just ask questions. Anything that you have here, take it back to other people that you know, anyone that's considering it. But yeah, so there are snacks here. So this is going to be an informal session. So if you can start passing them around, it's just to get a really free-flowing discussion going. So first of all, we just wanted to get your perceptions. You know, what does national security mean to you? Because we have a definition of it, but how we all view national. But yeah, what does national security mean to some of you? What's the first thing? So I know for me, when I first started, I kind of had a perception of everything that you saw on the news, and I thought it was just going to be a really male-dominated, white environment. You know, the stuff that you see in Spooks, I thought, oh, people aren't going to understand the issues that I have as a Muslim, and working on, you know, issues like prevent and stuff, and kind of campaigning against certain bills and policies before, and thinking it's not going to be a place where I'm going to fit in. So that's kind of my experience. I'm that before I joined national security. So I don't know if that is similar to any of what you guys thought. I didn't want to open up with a leading question, so I've kind of led you along. But you know, good or bad? What do you think? Is it a good thing or a bad thing, national security? Right intentions. Okay, yeah. Does that mean that right intentions, but then the execution isn't always what you expect? Yeah. Does anyone else have agree, disagree with that? Right intentions? Mm. Yeah. Okay, so some thoughts. And I thought I'd just ping it back over to the panel. So introduce you guys. I think if we can introduce ourselves around the room as well. And then if Sophia, Asif, and Abu, if you can give your thoughts out as well. So I'm Anis Ahmed. I used to be in the fast stream, and I'm currently working in the Joint Intelligence Organisation.
I'm Sophia Ebony, and
I'm Atik Shetty. I am in the EU Exit and SOC team in National Security Secretariat.
I'm Alexandra. I'm the first year class dreamer and work in the Treasury on litigation.
I'm Natalie. I am a classroom
I'm Julius, first year stats class dreamer. I'm based at the
Aisha, last year, I'm in the Ministry of Justice. Lizzie, I'm first year journalist. I'm in the Nsc Jess, first year journalist, which will be.
Samuel, I'm first year master's
Willie, also first year class student. Admiral Ahmed, I work in the Office for Security Counterterrorism in the Preventive Directorate.
I'm Andrew. I work in EFSET. I'm the operations manager looking after the post-sentence comments process.
I'm Laura Graham, and I work for EFSET as well, also on the Pilston student.
We've already done me, so back to you again.
Yeah, so Sophia, what were your perceptions of national security?
So I
Have they changed as well?
Yeah, so I didn't actually apply to national security. I applied to constitution group, and I got pulled into security. And my initial assumption was that it was going to be something really, really exciting because it said, you know, organised crime and prevention of, I don't know, crime around the world or something, and that sounded really exciting. But actually, I think as I've come into it more, there are some really exciting elements, and I think some of it is quite privileged because you do get such a deep understanding of what's going on at the centre. Particularly having worked in Cabinet Office, I think it gives you such a great cross-section of understanding about what national security is in all the different areas it touches on. And I would say my impression of national security is that it really is about trust and how you build trust into the fabric of society with, you know, taxpayer and citizens, but also between us as colleagues and with our kind of allies and friends across the world. So I think for me, national security is about that trust and how can you build that and what's it based on. Because if you don't have that fabric of trust, then quite a lot of all the security apparatus around that kind of break down.
So, I mean, those are really kind of insightful comments, actually. Breaking thoughts in me, actually, as we go. But I think, so before I worked in, had an interesting kind of transition into national security. So I started off being exposed to it I worked for lots of private offices, so I worked for Nsc for a long period of time, so bits of their portfolio became national security focused. You know, it felt like something which was quite fast paced, quite high profile, quite dynamic. And then I went and worked in the Secretariat for the Intelligence and Security Committee, and it was extremely boring. And it was a really small team, and it had quite a lot of problems in terms of how they kind of managed their work there. The team had some issues. I did that very briefly, and then I went into the National Security Secretariat. And I think, you know, the perception of it being fast-paced is true, but it's also actually lots of similarities with normal policy making. Actually, it's about building evidence bases, understanding policy problems, understanding what people's perceptions are, translating that to legislation, understanding political dynamics of it. So it's amazing how kind of similar. And actually, I was thinking, reflecting on this as I was walking over, and the London Bridge incident. I was reading about how it played out, and I felt quite emotional to kind of the stories of people who were involved. I thought, well, actually, maybe that is different. It's eliciting these emotions. But actually, if I worked in health, and I was reading stories about illnesses that we were unable to protect, or if I was working in education, and you know, I'd probably have the same types of views. So actually, it shouldn't be shrouded in mystery. There are elements of it which are fast-paced because of the nature of it. There are elements of it which are linked to the military, for example, to have militaristic type language, or with foreign affairs to have diplomatic type language. But ultimately, it's similar to lots of policy areas that the civil service work on across the civil service. And I think that in terms of what I think it means, it's, you know, I suppose what's how you define the nation. And actually, it's a kind of not a defined thing. It's actually a collection of people that reflect modern Britain that changes over time, has changed over the last decade, over the last 50 years, and will change in the next decade, in the next 50 years. and that's why it's quite an interesting place to work. It's about how we protect what are our values, but those do change; they're not fixed. And it's interesting seeing how, interesting, it's like depressing seeing how some of that's playing out in on Twitter, for instance, where you get of views, but actually then seeing how that's played out in the work we do in terms of advising, it's a bit more hot.
No, thanks, Abby, what does national security mean to you then?
Fundamentally, it's about keeping the country safe, keeping citizens safe, keeping infrastructure safe, property safe, in an environment which is in a world which is very volatile. Not just politics in this country, but around Europe, around the world, we see the rise of far-right movements now. And I think national security is now more complex as an issue, all the more challenging and interesting as a result. One of the things that I thought about national security before I joined civil service was strategy secrecy. But actually, when you do national security and the work that's involved in national security is very broad. You could be working in the cabinet office, foreign office, you could be working actually in a local agency as well as in intelligence services. And it's so broad and varied that actually not everything needs to be strategy secrecy. A lot of the work that I do to try and stop people joining terrorist groups does not involve much in the way of secret information, and is not, you don't have to go around with a gun and dress like James Bond and everything like that. A lot of it is about human psychology. A lot of it is about how you deliver programs and projects. A lot of it is about working with multiplicity of stakeholders at a national level, local level. The thing that I like most when I work in this particular area of national security is the opportunity to develop something at a kind of strategic level, to own it, shape it, and see it on the ground. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to see that in the national security space. I don't think you have, like you have a DWP or health service, a really complex delivery chain, not the world that I work in. So it is possible that you do work that then you can see on the ground, at least the benefits of it.
No.
The other thing I'd say, finally, is I come from a very institute background. A lot of my friends are Australian working in local council, etc. And their view of national security and government is very different from mine. And I'm always reminded about kind of the anti-state perception of people out there, especially in the times we live in. And that feeds into another challenge that we have in national security, which is around social media and what people think, and the proliferation of kind of fake news, which affects us as well, another dimension.
No, that's really, really insightful, Abby. And we can pick up some of your thoughts about that after. You touched on some areas of work that you've been doing, so maybe we can transition into kind of if you guys give, your career history and what led you into working, and then we can open up to the floor and go to questions if you don't want to start, Abby.
So I studied law at university. Thought I was going to be a solicitor. Went to studied the legal practice schools. Did a year as a lawyer. And I thought it was pretty dull. It's basically about dealing with people's problems, as I saw it in the end. And then I started my first job in immigration as a tribunal advocate many years ago. And from then I thought I'd actually like to get involved in policy work. So I then transitioned to policy work, worked on the Government Equalities Bill, what is now the Government Equality Act, and then on community cohesion in Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. And then that got me involved in prevent work at a local level. And then I joined the Home Office. And I'm currently now the head of local delivery and communications, which essentially is managing a budget of about 13, 14 million pounds. How do we get local authorities and some of the key institutions at a local level to help us keep people safe? How do we run projects at a local level? How do we support local authorities which come across very vulnerable individuals who might have mental health issues, who might be known to be defending teams? How do we spot those early signs that people are getting involved? And how do we then create those kinds of programs? So that's what I do at the moment. The reason I guess my interest in national security is tied in with my interest in government more broadly, which is that I wasn't really happy that people who were making decisions necessarily were making the right decisions. And I wanted to play a role in influencing. I was always wondering, who is that person who in the ear of the minister to make that decision. I'd like to be around that table.
That's great. Thank you, Abby. Sophia, what's your career trajectory?
Yeah, so I feel such an amazing experience. It's really great to hear about other people's experience. So I studied politics, and then I studied Middle Eastern politics with Islamic law and human rights. And I really wanted to get into that, but I actually just needed a job. So I started working at House of Commons first. I worked there for 5 years. I worked in different offices, some as civil service jobs, some as MPs. And that was really interesting, understanding how politicians think, you know, not just kind of senior ministers, but just backbench MPs and how the kind of system works and how Parliament itself works. And it's such a fascinating institution, and even I think the building itself is kind of, it's so symbolic of the kind of politics that we see. I found it really amazing working there. And then I applied to the civil service a bit later on. I didn't get into the classroom, I tried twice, rubbish at maths. So I just joined as a kind of an open recruitment thing, and I was pulled to Government Security Secretariat, and I worked actually then, I worked quite a bit in protective security, which is quite interesting, which is basically protection of kind of government information, buildings, and employees. And I would say protective security is quite different to national security, but it is kind of connected and part of it. And then I worked in JIO, the Joint Intelligence Organisation, and I think following that, I went into the parliamentary policy team and worked again on legislation for the restoration of Parliament. That was so interesting to see the kind of other side of the coin from government. But I think it was quite similar to Abby, the reason why I wanted to get into government. My dad's Iraqi, and when the Iraq War happened, I was at school, and that was the first time I really was, just the whole perception of who I was and who the government was and who the country was and what they were doing in my name really kind of became so present to me, and all I knew then at that point was the Prime Minister, so I thought, right, I want to be Prime Minister. And then obviously that's quite unachievable, so that kind of led me into the civil service. And actually I really, like I said, in the Middle East as well, in the States, I'm really interested in kind of bureaucracy and its function, and I think we have an incredible bureaucracy here. I think, you know, for all the flaws, I think civil service gets a bad rep in the press, but it's doing, when you see what it can do in countries where it's not used properly, it's not functioning properly, it is just such a privilege to work in it, I think. And so that's kind of led me into national security kind of just by accident, but I think I was always interested in international policy making, kind of understanding how government works. So a lot of my jobs have been focused on understanding the centre of government and how that interacts with Parliament, politicians, the public. And I'm kind of developing that. I worked in different programmes, I worked as an analyst, worked as a policymaker, so I've kind of been a jack of all trades, I'd say I'm a generalist. But I think kind of my deep interest is in inclusion and diversity in the national security space. I started the Women's Network, which you're very well aware of, because I think integrating different kind of narratives, which sounds a bit like what you're kind of doing, into the centre, into policy making, is so essential. I think we kind of use language quite, not flippantly, but we say, oh yeah, diversity is really important, inclusion is really important. But when you actually look at why, think about the Chilcot report, why that matters, think about what the consequences, what happens when it doesn't go right. That's kind of where I'm at with national security and the importance of kind of bringing different skills, different experiences, different understanding of what the state is into the centre of government.
So my career path has been quite an odd one in a way. So I studied science at university, but I wasn't very good. So I gave up on being a doctor and I applied for the civil service fast stream. Didn't get in the first time. I went and worked at the Department for Health. I think the reason I applied, other than wanting a decent job, that I thought a big job for life back then, was kind of instilled in me a kind of public service ethos which my parents had given me, because they were immigrants who felt that the country had given them a lot and that it was important that we as a family gave back. Which is an interesting thing, actually. It's underpinned a lot of, whether that's right or wrong is an interesting thing to think about, but it certainly underpinned the beginning of my career. I worked at DH, I worked on drugs policy, so illegal and misuse of legal drugs. That was quite an interesting policy area, which exposed me to lots of cross-cutting social issues, ranging from education, health, and justice system. I then did a couple of other roles in health, and then I reapplied for the stream and got on it this time, and went to work for UKTI on low carbon exports. So quite a weird range of things I did. And then I worked for various ministers in BIS and DFE, working on skills policy in private offices, and then DEC and BIS working on energy policy, so not really related to, had bits of it which were related to national security. Then I came to the Cabinet Office and became Principal Private Secretary to the Minister of the Cabinet Office. That then became, if you remember, it was Matt Hancock, then it was Ben Gummer, then it was Damien Green, and he was first Secretary of State, and he took on more national security role. He was on the Nsc. He lasted 6 months before resigning, and then David Livington was CDL. And that exposed me to more of the national security side of the work. So it kind of felt like an interesting area to explore further. At that point, I had quite a generalist career, and I was thinking about my next step being focusing down on the area that I thought I'd want to build my career in. And frankly, national security seemed quite interesting, particularly the kind of public service aspect. And I went and worked for the Secretariat for the Intelligence and Security Committee. You may have heard of them. They were the ones that wanted to publish the Russia report. I did that for about 6 months, and then I came back to Cabinet Office because of the EU exit, and I did about 2 months working on implementation policy before coming to the National Security Secretariat and my current job, which involves basically assessing the impact of the security impacts of a no-deal exit, the national security impacts, and how we can mitigate them or coordinate response to them across government. I also look after the serious and organised crime, which is kind of trying to coordinate cross-government efforts to tackle that in the kind of its importance to national security. So it's kind of haphazard, really, how I've ended up here, but broadly makes sense with the pieces together.
I think that's really interesting, actually, and it's something that we've started off these discussions with a deputy national security advisor, well, Prime Minister's advisor. I think we changed the name of their role title now. And one of them was looking at colleagues from ethnic minority backgrounds and looking at their experiences having went into national security. And the majority of people in the room had all kind of gone into national security by accident. And I feel like for you three, it happened. It wasn't a case of you started off and you were a natural born securocrat. And it was a similar thing for me. I kind of fell into it, and I'm just really curious to know if any of you, have you kind of come in and said, I want to work in national security? Have you come from different backgrounds? That I'm just interested to hear about your journeys to why you're considering it. And we can pick out some issues there. Who said day one, I want to work in national security 100%? That's what I want to do. No, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to stop. We'll get the discussion juices going. It's okay. But yeah, because it's interesting as much for us to understand. Yeah.
So why not? So did anything put you off from day one? Because we're often, this question which is important to us because I was reflecting on, we had a big session with Melbourne Assembly, the Deputy National Security Advisor, about our experiences. And one of my reflections was I was in a meeting where we were talking about it's a telecoms issue. DCMS, and it was departments which aren't usually in the national security space. And I looked around the table and it was just a more diverse, visually, obviously, I don't know how diverse it was, but it looked more diverse to me, to the normal meetings I'm in, where it's, I'm usually the only Asian person in the room, and everyone else is in the kind of the other bits, more sensitive bits where I work. So how do we get more? There's no reason why that's the case. There's no kind of actual practical latter column of meetings, and it really starts with more of you guys being keen to get involved, all the barriers that are stopping you getting involved being taken away. So really useful to understand your insights.
Can I add one thing? So when I have been quite interested in national security, but I didn't actually really know there was any, and I don't know. I joined civil service like 7 years ago. I think now it's actually much more explicit, and I think it being explicit is one part of it. But we did a big recruitment round for senior security advisors who are kind of the intelligent customer security advisor in each department across government, and we put every single thing through the mill to try and make it as diverse and inclusive. We advertised on Mumsnet, we advertised with every single network. We exhausted ourselves, and we got like 13% applying who were women, because the focus at that point was on gender, and the ethnic diversity was quite low. It was lower than 13%. I think it was something like 7%. And actually, we couldn't quite pinpoint what it was, and we actually think it was the word security. And I think I wonder how many people around that room who are white are also male, just from my perspective, because I think the gender lens on this is quite important. I don't know, I'm just kind of throwing that out there as part of the discussion, because I just wonder, does the word security, do people get excited when they hear the word security? I mean, it never used to excite me, but from a career perspective, does it make you think, oh, what does that mean? I don't know if that was what attracted you to kind of coming here and listening to Anissa talk.
Because from my perspective, whenever I've heard about national security, you always see things at very high levels. So so I was thinking it's not going to someone start
And I think that's a really good point, because I think that was my perception as well. And now I'm in that role. I'm in that role where you're going direct to the Prime Minister. You're sending your work to the Prime Minister. But it's a case of, I thought that wasn't somewhere where I could be, and it's that perception of you have to really work hard. That's right, the end goal. But actually, I'm doing it right at the beginning of my career. So it's those perceptions that we have, which we're kind of trying to break down here as well. But so it's kind of gauging what you guys will think. Okay, we'll let you ask questions now. So throw us the questions, and then we can take on any thoughts that you have.
I just wanted to respond to the previous section. I think for me, the reason that security wasn't something I strongly considered was because I came in with quite a similar mentality to you, in that I was really drawn to the public service aspect of the civil service. And so when I thought of public service, I thought of things like the welfare system, so that's what I'm dealing with right now. But security is never something I associated with the notion of public service. And I think that probably comes down to kind of what we were saying earlier, just about the negative stigmas we have about security. When you think about it, it doesn't feel like an ally or a friend. It almost feels like something that's opposing you. That's why I never thought of it as.
I think that's really sorry. No, and that's kind of one thing that we're trying to do, is break that down, because I think for a lot of us, we've had those similar thoughts, and it's only going in and working in that area that you actually recognise what it's like day to day on the ground, how much impact you can have, and actually that the system isn't out to work against certain people. I remember when I first worked in the Home Office, and I was working in organised crime policy at the time, but actually it was still within OSCT, and kind of seeing colleagues that worked on counter-terrorism policy and prevent, and I'd gone in with a perception of, oh my gosh, I could never work there, it's just not for me. And then being given a platform to challenge and to be involved and to be included, where I've got to the point now where it's a case of, I'll go straight to my permanent secretary and say, this is wrong, that's wrong, we need to change how we do this, we need to change our language, and changing things from, having, jihadi hotspots, whatever, or jihadi, anything that's going on, it's changing the language. But it takes people to have a different worldview to actually change certain things, and recognizing that it's the impact of small things that can actually change policy going forward. So I think it's a case of selling our stories almost. So doing this, telling people about the fact that we have stories and that we've done things, that we're having impact, so it doesn't come across as, it's this closed off society. But yeah, I think that's a really, really useful point. Thank you. Any other questions? You can ask directly about career points, anything that piqued your interest. You're like, I want to hear more about Prevent, or maybe not the ISC, that's a bit boring. Maybe more about the JAA.
So my point is just because I'm
So anytime, and luckily I've been given a leadership position in the commercial program, so I'm a commercial lead, sort of rallying all these stakeholders into a tiny pot of money that we need to spend to get stuff. So at the start of your career, how was that? Especially knowing how strategic the work that you're doing is, and knowing that you are such a key holder to these ideas, but also sort of having to prove your work and having to be taken seriously almost by running one of the large programs. So it's very intimidating.
So I think from my perspective, it's so I felt insecure basically for a long time, and the point where you realise you don't need to be insecure anymore, and actually that you're contributing, and actually in many cases contributing something which other people are unable to, with unique perspectives. So, and I probably wasn't very confident and was quite insecure in my career. I realised that taking much more opportunities I had been a bit more confident. I think that all goes back to feeling a bit upper, and whether that's your age or your ethnic makeup or whatever it may be, you feel that way around that table. So that's how I felt. I don't know really how you get on that. So I think that I went through that process, and now I can recognise it. But I encourage people to in the civil service in particular, to be confident places, people who have something useful and intelligent and worthwhile to say, usually welcome it. I think actually it's quite once I started in confidence, it was quite, I was kind of put down as being, I was welcomed and I was encouraged, and it's what made me feel like I was just done that. I think I did need to go through that process.
Can I just probe a bit more at this? So when you got to SCS, did you feel like, I'm assuming that, at SCS level, it was even less diverse than before. Did you feel like you stood out even more then, and did you have to overcome anything?
The stats for national security, sorry, the stats for national security SCS for women ethnic minorities are actually higher than SCS.
As in relative percentage?
Yeah.
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 Interesting. Did not think that.
So I think, so when I got to SCS, I was more confident. So, so in that regard, I felt became less diverse. I don't know the stats, but it felt less diverse as I progressed in my career. But you also get worried every level you feel to be tested. So when you start, I'm on SCS now. What does that mean? I probably shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this stuff. I'm not ready yet. I need to keep my head down while I work out what I'm doing, because I clearly should be here. And actually, again, it took me, I need to reach that level of confidence at SCS level in the same way that I did at the beginning of my career. And probably every point you get a new job, there's an element of insecurity. But yeah, probably more confident at SCS. But that's because I've been through some experience beneath that. I'm not sure I noticed it being less diverse, because it just feels pretty undiverse at every stage, really. Because you're often around, you don't spend that much time just with SCS, you're often around teams. So it sort of reflects the diversity of the civil service.
So I was just going to say, I think it's really important to understand the value of allies. So, yes, you have to build your own confidence. It's so important, that internal dynamic, but you also have to understand that, you will feel vulnerable quite a lot of the time, and you probably will be that face around the table, but you need to have a network of allies and consciously make time for that. So, going to meet somebody for a coffee every week is not a waste of time. That is really important, because I think people who come from backgrounds where there's a natural privilege, and we all have varying degrees of privilege, they have that already there, so you have to cultivate your own one. So I would definitely say share that burden. It's an individual pursuit, but yet you can really boost yourself up and your colleagues up, as you go. And you guys are fostering now years 1, 2, 3, but you're the future sex or whatever, and in quite quick time actually you get to these kind of positions that you're fostering. So I think making sure you have that network to support you.
Okay, Abby, have you got any thoughts?
You work hard to get there. That's the first thing to say. Then after that, there's all sorts of other things that some people, it'd be hard to press to detect it, but are just simply faking got this. And I think the biggest thing that we do, or certainly now and again, is when you see other people make mistakes. You see senior people make mistakes, and you realize that actually there are lots of people making mistakes, and they learn everybody. And you'll go through your career, whether it be in the security field or elsewhere, and you'll see people get promotion, and that will annoy you. You'll think, how is it that happened? And if you're like me, that will infuriate you. You'll think, okay, that's going to drive me. So depending on what kind of person you are, there's different drivers you might have that are pushing you in that direction. But certainly, I've certainly also been in that group where I'm really kind of baby face in the room. And you can't help but feel like you're representing every baby person out there when you're in that situation. And that can be a healthy thing, maybe an unhealthy thing, but the way I look at it is, I need to be present in this meeting. There's something to say. I've got to say something intelligent. I can't say something stupid. So it's never quite a safe place when you put that burden on yourself. But on the plus side, it can be a bit of a nudge. You think, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to be visible? That's one of the key things, visibility in civil service law. Your confidence is really important as you
It's a really good point, and I think the burden point is really important because as you go through your career, it can get really difficult when you constantly got this burden. And it means that you're so self-aware and conscious of your identity wherever you go. It can be quite difficult to lug with you. And I think I had to switch myself out of that, and it was only as a result of coaching, which hopefully you guys will get in your second year or third year. And right at the beginning of my career, being at the Ministry of Defence, I was the only brown woman, I was the only woman, I was the only visible Muslim in a room of like 30, 40 people. It was a regular occurrence and really felt like I had no choice. I was like, every single meeting, I've got to say something, because there were comments that were made at the beginning. They're like, oh, you're a bit quiet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be like reinforcing this stereotype of like a quiet Muslim. And so I felt like I really had to push myself out there. It was really tiring, really draining. And it's only this year that I, after coaching and kind of thinking about, okay, well, why do you feel like you need to do that? And just tested it out. Didn't talk, for one meeting, didn't talk, just saw how it felt, did it again. And it was really interesting, just the feedback that I was getting from people. And they said, oh, we really miss your insights and what you have to say. And so kind of just by testing different things out, I took the burden off of myself. And ever since then, I now know I don't feel the burden and feel pressurized to comment because I'm like, actually, people value me for my comments regardless. They're not associating. Sometimes it's that subconscious thing of you think that people are kind of, judging you in a certain way, or, it's that representation point. So it's trying different things out. I think building a reputation is really important. And once you have a really solid foundation, it gets a lot easier. You can just afford to not feel like you have to represent every meeting. And actually, there's a point around different types of personalities. If you're more introverted, if you're an extrovert, you want to play to those things as well. You don't want to make yourself a different person just because of how you think others will perceive you. So it's a journey, but try different things out, and you'll be surprised at how actually you'll be received in a positive light. Get feedback from people as well. It can boost your confidence. Any other questions?
There was a time, a situation where you felt moral confidence. What I mean by that is, for example, spoken about lack of representation sometimes when decisions are made. Have you ever been in a situation where you're put into something, you're given something, where you realize a decision's been made where there was probably misunderstanding, or someone from a particular group not present at the time to say, "No, that's not right." You're in a position now where you have to enact something, put something in place. You're kind of thinking it's too late to go back and amend something, and what you do in those situations is
I can give that a go. There has been an occasion when I've given advice on something that I felt very passionate about, and ministers have decided they're going to take a different course. But ultimately, so I don't know if this is helpful to people, ultimately it comes down to understanding our role as civil servants. We're there to advise. we play a key role in putting the information to them, the advice to them. And what happens after that is up to them. And I think it would be a much worse situation if we all felt that we didn't agree with a government or a minister, and we thought, right, my moral ethical code has been undermined. I didn't get what I personally like, I'm going to leave. So there's one or two colleagues of mine who have said, if a certain government coming into power post-profit said they're going to leave the civil service. I've always thought that was a bit, other people may agree with that, but I've always thought that was a bit odd. Because I kind of think it's actually more important to stay in the civil service if you think that there are going to be decisions that you're not going to agree with. Because who's going to give that other perspective? So I think there are times where we have to understand that our role as civil service is to advise, do the best of our ability, do what we can to get ministers to follow certain courses of action, but they are entitled to.
I've just got one. It wasn't really as strong as you lay out. It was where it was kind of challenged, and I suppose it's just a subtle difference. It wasn't advice to ministers. It was around a paper, and it was with senior civil servants, and there was obviously a very, what you could call an establishment view of a particular country and a particular government, and that was the way it was going to go, no matter what. And it wasn't actually on me, because I was quite junior at that time, but I was also on the paper. And my line managers just said, well, this, because actually the way it works with JIC papers is you'll know you have to do your analysis, you put your papers together, you run it around everybody a couple of times before you get to JIC. Hopefully there's no surprises. Sometimes there are, and they're quite cruel. But hopefully there's no surprises, but you kind of know that you're going to get a grilling if you're going to get a grilling. And we got a real grilling, and actually it was quite uncomfortable, but we had to stand our ground according to the paper, and then actually it didn't get signed off, so then we had to take it back, and it was kind of a long process. But actually in that point, it was really touching on what you were saying about evidence-based. It was an evidence-based piece of work. We were civil servants. There was no policy involved. We had to really take a step back and look at what we were representing. We stuck with that, and actually in the end, they didn't take the paper through, which is actually quite a big thing, because then you don't get this kind of centrally signed off piece of work from central government, and it kind of changed. So I think in that sense, I really took inspiration, as it were, from my line manager, but it wasn't based on my own personal view and opinion, even though that was really kind of aligned with this. It was really based on the facts and really based on evidence. And I'm not saying personal views and emotion aren't valid, but in that case, I think if you're making policy, if you're analysing things, you really have to look at what is in front of you and the information you've got to make your argument, rather than making it too personal all the time. Otherwise, you kind of lose your value as a civil servant.
So I'd echo those points about what our role is in that process. So you need to be realistic about the evidence base and the fact that we advise and ministers decide. They will be held to account for their decisions. I think, and I've never had an example quite that fits exactly that bill. I'm surprised that your example is something being clearly undermined by the particular review. I'd be surprised if there weren't policies which are slightly more new have that as a flaw, because we haven't, as a collective government, been able to draw in the right set of views. But I just never come across a clear-cut case. But I think, again, going back to the point about confidence, that if I saw something like that now, I'd be able to raise it appropriately and provide that advice, and hopefully based on evidence. And then I'd be confident that I could make that case that advice would get to ministers, and then it's up to the Democrats to be able to do it, to make a decision. But so I think what I'm saying is I feel now that I feel empowered to raise that, highlight that in an appropriate way. That comes down to the fact that we're civil servants.
I also think that in the national security community, there's a real push and challenge. So you've got, that ultimately the findings of the Iraq inquiry are essential to so much of our work. We're always really conscious of, come the next inquiry, what are people going to say, and how are we going to be critiqued. So there's a real emphasis on challenge. There's a real awareness and seniors empower challenge within the national security community, more than any other areas that I've personally seen. How it's received, sometimes, it's difficult to actually feel like that can happen. But there's a space for challenge and for for raising any ethical concerns. We still have a way to go. There are some contentious areas, but generally there are a lot of black and white areas. I've spent my whole national security career looking at counter-proliferation. So essentially, nuclear weapons are bad. We don't want other countries to have them. It's quite black and white. So there are a lot of black and white areas where you aren't going to be concerned. And actually, where you do have concerns, I found people have been really supportive. So there are particular countries that I'm like, I don't want to brief them because I just don't, that's just, personally, that would be difficult for me. And people have been fine. There are actually a lot of colleagues that have similar views to me on those sort of areas. It gets a bit difficult when you go more senior, but people are really accommodating. So I think just be open with people and don't feel like it's going to, be a stigma against you. Any other questions?
Just one question on it.
Yeah.
And how is the work-life balance? Because once the word national security is mentioned, I thought I sort of sound like your life.
Yeah. I think it definitely depends on what job you're in. The JO is a very intense place. I don't know if Sophia had similar views.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that when I worked at JIO. I think it's also important in the trajectory of your career, you have some jobs where you're not very good, some jobs where you're better. And I wasn't that good in JIO. I was pregnant and I spent most of my lunchtimes lying on the toilet floor. I really wasn't at my best. But there was an expectation that you would work very, very hard, I think. But actually, generally, I find the areas where I find the work-life balance has been less kind of positively balanced has been kind of program work within the national security, whether it's because it's security, because it's a program. I think programs, particularly delivery, tends to be like every single second there's something you need an answer now. Policy tends to be, slightly slower pace, more development. I think if you're working in a private office, you would be able to give private offices very, very demanding. I think there's certain teams in the National Security Secretariat, certain teams in the national security space that, if there's a crisis or if there's an event, then you will be expected to show up because you have the knowledge and expertise to coordinate something or respond to something. So I think you kind of, when you go into a specific area, you kind of acknowledge that. But as a whole, I would say my experience is that it's just kind of the same as most places, but again with the kind of ministerial balances that you get wherever you are.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary essentially. So from my perspective, when I went to private office, that was quite intense because the minister knew you were the person who ran that particular policy area. So before I ran there's a big having that policy area, no one else could do that for you, so you have to do it. In my current job, I've got two sort of modes. I've got the EU exit stuff, which is part of the LAP. So we talk about kind of the response, which would be, doesn't provide, shifts and that stuff, and that feels that happens, but it's quite intense. And on the other side of my job, I've got SOC policy, which is coordinating a long-term strategic approach to serious organised crime, which actually doesn't require late nights. It requires over a period of time you progressing this work and doing it in a way which basically you can manage that over a period of time. So it shouldn't really require. I'm very keen on encouraging my team not to stick around and So in my experience, there are three different modes. Really busy, preparing to be busy, and kind of doing rotas accordingly, and that's pretty effective. Things like the CT, and then actually policy development, which can be really flex the hours appropriately.
Policy program. So there's teaching blocks. And so obviously the last 5 years, I had to be on call for the weekend. But actually those incidents happen very rarely. I've got a 16-month-old baby boy. I work 4 days a week, 11 hours. One day is usually my working day. I travelled in, by the way, Lisa, for this. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Very grateful.
and a lot of people in my team it's pretty normal. It's just that there are certain instances
Any other questions?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't work in recruitment, so I'm sure maybe even you might have some clearer sense of the kind of current recruitment practices for kind of maybe fast streamers and specifically national security. All I know when we're recruiting roles individually in our team, there's kind of there's a brochure, there's kind of a collection of materials called the Mission Critical, which is available readily available to everybody, and that kind of includes like a toolkit of how to do kind of an inclusive, diverse recruitment round. One of the things that my network is really trying to focus on, we're trying to focus on 3 things next year. One of them is really ensuring that every department has an inclusive and diverse panel, because actually the rules aren't the same in every department. So sometimes it's even these funny little things that and actually there's a recruitment campaign the other week and we really struggled to and we couldn't actually get anyone onto this panel, which is why it's so important to bring people like yourselves in so we can then we're interviewing these individuals just can be a bit more conscious and aware of kind of some of the barriers and prejudices that do exist. I think from my perspective in the network, what we're trying to do is just kind of share best practice and collate information and make sure that all the different kind of diversity and inclusion points in national security are talking to each other, because there's a huge amount going on, there's a huge momentum, but there's still a basic education piece, if you ask me, with some members of the community and some senior members of the community. But there's a lot of good work going on in terms of specific recruitment practices. I don't know much else apart from what's in the mission critical guidance that I use in terms of language, locations, and how you advertise using it to diversity networks across government.
We're also starting to make sure that all our adverts are advertised externally.
Yeah.
So a huge problem that we had, until recently, was that you would advertise for jobs within Ministry of Defence, within Cabinet Office, within those sections, which meant that you would never get the opportunity if you worked in HCLG or Department of Health. So that's one aspect that we're trying to do. I think we're still tackling certain issues. So I'm currently writing a diversity and inclusion project paper. It's the first ever one that we've done. And it's looking at what are the barriers, what can we do to go ahead, and recruitment is a real issue, because at the moment it seems like we're trying to recruit one type of person, but from the experiences here, we've got athletes who have a science background, law. There are non-traditional backgrounds that a lot of BAME colleagues will have. So it's a case of actually, if you're attracting someone who's from the social sciences, which is generally what a lot of our policy, our national security policy jobs are geared towards, that can be an issue. So I think there's a lot that needs to be changed, but there's a lot that you can all offer as well. If you have thoughts when you're working in OSCT, if someone's running a recruitment campaign, have a look at those recruitment adverts. Have a look and see, if you were on the other side, would you be applying for that? We all have agency and we all are leaders in our own right. So take that ownership as well. But yeah, there are some things that are going on. A really key thing for national security is that we're having a deep review of our national security vetting policy. The moment it dates back to the 90s, which is really not good. There are some questions that we ask that our colleagues in New Zealand, Australia, the US don't ask, and it's a lot more intimidating than it needs to be. So there are certain barriers around that we're trying to change in the actual process and the policy of it. And then there's a big comms campaign that we're considering as well. So these are all things on the cards. How can we make it more transparent? Things like these events where you're kind of breaking down the myths about, you can work in national security if you have more ethical concerns, if you come from more diverse backgrounds. But yeah, I challenge you all, if you're working in an area that's working in national security or any area, have a look at the adverts, be on the panels, and just get a feel for how you can change things.
Would develop DV vetting, would that put anyone off if they saw it? I know I'm rudely hijacking but I'd really like to, because that's one of the key questions that we ask when we put out these recruitment plans. Developed vetting does put some people off, and I didn't know what it was before I joined, because I was pulled. So actually, I couldn't be put off because I didn't know I was going to be subjected to it. So that was a bit of a different case. But I just wanted to
I think there's a difference between actually having a DV versus doing the DV. So a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of jobs actually say you need to have a DV to apply for it. So I think that's losing
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and they're trying to roll back from that.
Yeah.
It's because there's a huge review of vetting policy and process, which is such a big backlog. That's the problem. Just starting to creep back in again. I just wondered if you're not DV cleared and you were looking to, I don't know if anybody's here, would they? Do you know what that is? Would you be?
Mine took 4 hours. It was so boring. It was fine. Do you give guidance on the fast round vetting and what it involves?
So we have put some out as part of the NSC stuff. And there is going to be something when you get your next edition of Messenger. So when you were talking about the new vetting process, one of the user researchers has come to us and actually asked if fast streamers would mind doing some testing and giving some feedback on the system. So that would be a really good thing for you to all get involved with as well.
Especially from a BAME or LGBT background, who were really hesitant to apply, and there's a lot of information about what they can ask for into. So we actually had, and I went in my presentation, no SCC, but the questions were I still but that was a massive piece of work we had to do to demystify a lot of this information that's out there. And I don't think they have anything to like, but they're quite hesitant to do that to cover your information. So if you are finding this right at the start of the classroom, that's what makes it a lot of key reviews.
And it makes you feel that way, I think. It makes you, yeah, it makes you feel that way.
Arthur, did you have any thoughts on DV clearance?
So I was trying to remember. So I think it's more for an admin hassle for me. I was kind of, it's a bit annoying trying to track down these uncles and aunts from India. But actually, I would say it didn't put going through the process. It wasn't particularly difficult. I didn't find it intrusive or harrowing once I started going through it. You can see what the questions are based on. Broadly speaking, I know there's quite a lot of work on the interviewers, for example, making the interviewers more diverse. Because when I did it, I think that it was kind of mainly middle-aged white ex-police.
Still like that.
So there is, and you are having quite, there's someone who asks lots of questions about all aspects of your life. So that can feel a bit weird. So the more, if they're a bit more like you, actually it's a bit more. So there's obviously some work going on, but get it where it needs to be. I wouldn't be you. I would say do it.
Definitely not. And I wondered if there's some way we could, if anyone wants to go through DV, we could like buddy people up with somebody who has been through it, who is not the same as you, but kind of you could then maybe get the same sort of questions. Because I think I had was buddied up with somebody whose husband had been in the MI6 for like 40 years, and so she said, oh, they won't ask you anything. And so, but mine was like, 5 hours, and I think I think it's important getting the right information, knowing that they're not out, no one is out to get you, but also having somebody maybe you can talk to who might be able to understand where you're coming from. No, not necessarily at all. I worked in a program where everyone had SC. Some people were risk managed at even BPSS, which is the baseline personal security service. Like, look, that's basically just identity checks, so you don't have to have a TV.
So clearance is basically, it determines what level of access that you have. So ultimately, if you have SC clearance, you can see secret and below material. If you have DV clearance, that allows you to see the top secret material. So that's basically that.
And the thing that you mentioned about openness earlier, I think it is really important. Security is more open. A lot of people read about, oh, well, I saw that on BBC News last night. So, there's so much information that openness and intelligence is one of the most critical tools that we're starting to use, and kind of where we're accessing information. It's not just deep secret sources. So I think it's really important to just kind of be a bit critical about this stuff. Maybe you don't go for DV, but you get a C, it's fine, it's not very.
People are very fixated on
Yeah.
secret stuff, but actually, it's only a small part.
Even ministers, so many ministers aren't, cleared to.
No, the ministers aren't vetted.
Yeah. But you've seen people.
Yes, that would be interesting.
I'm conscious that you need to, so it's 10:06. We have this room for a while, so we can go on to 6:30. If anyone needs to leave, then please feel free to just. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Anything that you've been thinking about? Anything that is, it can even be about the application. Any post that you're interested in, but don't feel like you know how to work in that area. Yeah, I mean, we offer master's programs. So the Home Office offers an intelligence security master's, I believe. That's one thing that you can do. You have the King's Intelligence Security master's program that we offer in different parts of government. And I think the main thing is that you don't need an academic background to work in national security. That's one thing that we're really trying to push. And we're gradually getting more apprentices. We just bid for a whole load of apprentices to come in to work in national security roles. So that's a real thing that we're trying to push for improving social mobility. But there are particular areas where a master's, will give you particular expertise. So you have the conflict advisors, cadre in DFID. So they work on really interesting stabilisation issues. You have the Foreign Office research analysts. So they will have masters and they're quite academic. They generally come from outside and they've been academics in a previous life and come in to work in Foreign Office on national security issues. So yeah, different pockets. Is that something that you're considering or you're interested in? Or? I think experience is crucial. I think building the experiences that you get.
Also diversity of background. So I do think as a scientist I bring a different way of thinking to someone who's trained and I think actually some people I don't think you need a masters to access it from a security space. I think it's great that we offer that because there's some areas because it is really diverse and it's like a microcosm of the wider sector for different types of jobs, some of which are more analytical, more research based, which actually masters might help, others which support quality, some are delivery. So I think it is quite a diverse sector.
but then also maintain a level of knowledge about the subject matter. And one thing striking is ownership of their own learning. There's no kind of course or manual. We always constantly talking now that the homeworks about what we should have an induction program looks like. Are we bringing students up to speed on the area that we're in? But a lot of it is about self-learning. So even though we've got that kind of King's College evening course, which is 20 modules, MA level. To be honest with you, don't know if anyone who runs that course, but it's a bit of a crap course. It does not beat learning on the job. No way does it. I mean, you go to lunch and learn at home, far more. People are actually more grounded in the reality of work than going to a course and learning a theoretical model around this, that, and the other.
Any comments? Any thoughts? So you've kind of worked around.
Yeah, it's kind of like all kind of got speed area and switches or kind of going through it, that perhaps you kind of come to terms with maybe you're like, it looks like you're in a really more. So I'd say kind of now, what do you find challenging in your roles, or what are the challenges that you face? Or is that still a challenge, do you think that?
So I think it's a bit of both. So I think you still feel, although you're getting used to it and get more confident, still sometimes, and when you go to a new job, you feel that. And also the kind of representing what you made earlier about kind of feeling represents receipt. So I'm the only SCS in the NSS, Bame SCS in the NSS. So I think I need to represent the community. And so there's a bit of pressure there in terms of how you do that. I've recently, not recently actually, a while ago was made NSS and JA Bame champion, and I haven't done much on it. I feel guilty every time I see any sort of buzzword.
We are doing
She yells me to account. So there is an element of that, I suppose, that kind of adds to pressure as you go through your career. But there are also a lot of things that you felt when you were young, early on in your career, about, they're all still there as well. It's just when you perhaps have learned to deal with them or you're more confident with just more experience.
So I think, so I'm a grade 6 and one of the lower SCS. So similar to I've been in my area quite a while. I'm in my comfort zone. I've been working now. I want to try and, my team is probably the most diverse in OSCE. And the challenge for me is for me to try and bring people up. And I try to talk to people who have been very background into my team. And to occasions they define. And the question I was going to ask you guys is, because one person defines because they have to learn to speak their mind, they have thinking about it, they've got a bit of a profile in their own community, in their idea in that. I was wondering how many of you would be comfortable going to so there is this kind of stigma about working I've wanted to bring you into my team. And I've specifically tried to bring the AU people into my team. And I've been refused twice. And I'm going to still keep trying, but my message would be that we can't change. If that institute, I'm guessing here, there's an institutional baggage to carry around on that. There's stuff about these say, but we kind of need work within those institutions to change them insofar as and we also need to give it space and break and root insofar as there is an issue. And not kind of getting engaged with
But there are two things about it. So I wouldn't talk about my job with anyone anyway. I wouldn't go up to someone and say, "Oh, I work on UXit," because that's really not anyone else's business. Same goes for security. If I'm working in security, first thing I wouldn't do is actually tell someone I work in security, irrespective of whether I'm an EO, AA, or I'm SCS, whatever. It just doesn't make sense. So it's not about the community as much as security-wise, I wouldn't be doing that.
I think there might be some jobs where you might not want to talk about what you do, but I think one of the things that's come out here is there's so many different kinds of jobs.
And apologies for turning up late. But
That's okay. There's so many different kinds of jobs. Sometimes you only need you don't need a secret. So I think, and I come back to the first point I made earlier, which is that I don't think this whole area is showing secrecy. I think we can talk about national security, protecting our neighbourhoods, our communities, our citizens, and be proud about working there. So I do actually talk about my part of my role is public facing.
okay.
So it is to actually go out and talk to people in Manchester and Birmingham about what the government is doing. Listen to people's anxieties, to respond to them, to also get their view about how it feels as well. As citizens, many of the people I talk to are from babies backgrounds, and they will express not just anxiety but hostility to a lot of what the government is doing. So I don't think we don't have a mature dialogue, constructive one. I think we're always in a position where some people here themselves have said, I wouldn't want to. This is not people going out there. People are asked what you do. They feel ashamed to say I work in national security. That feels to me